Have you ever made a garment mixing woven and knit in the same item? Well, I've just done that with two garments, chiffons and crepes mixed with knits. Sneak peek. So this is totally different, very unconventional. Keep watching. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing. And I have some limitless sewing for you today. I am sharing with you two projects that are unconventional. They're not unconventional, they're just unconventionally sewn because the materials sourced are the ones that you would expect or the ones that you would typically grab. And not so much about that, but about mixing them, because I wanted to mix wovens and knits in the same pattern. Now, it's not always possible. You know, the easiest way to do that is take a woven pattern and add a knit back or add a knit sleeve. That's sort of the easiest way to go. But I've decided to do that with different types of designs, and one of them actually was a UFO I'd forgot to show. I had it tucked in a bag cut out from last year. So I'm really glad I was able to sew that up and share that with you today. The first one I want to mention is the Forte top and dress from Love Notions. This is the Feature Friday pattern for today. That means it's only $5 during today, Friday. I had been giving this pattern a lot of thought, thinking which one of these options best suited me and my style. And I'll put some liner so you can see there are so many options here. You can make like 20 patterns with this pattern. So you can see that there are like two bodice options. View A and C have sort of the classic bodice type that is sort of like a t-shirt style with sleeve options. You know, one of them has a gathered peplum you can add at the waist. There's little details you can add on the sleeves, and those views have a scoop neck. And now the ones that grab my attention immediately are views B and D. These ones have an asymmetric empire bodice, but it's not your typical bodice that just finishes under the bust. It sort of finishes under the bust in the center and then goes down like that. I really like that. And there's a V neckline that I also really like. And then what you put underneath that empire bodice on the front differs. For view B is like a waterfall type flowy piece that has seams that are cut on the bias. I really like that, and that is the view that I've chosen. And then view D also has an asymmetric cut piece, but it's gathered onto that empire bodice. So that really caught my eye, and then I thought, you know, why not make that front skirt piece out of a flowy chiffon? Yeah, I just started making that idea come to life in my brain, because I do sometimes take a little bit longer planning things than I actually do sewing them. This pattern calls for light to medium weight knit fabric that has at least 25% stretch. At least for views B and D, you really want some knit fabric that will have a nice drape so that these waterfall details can shine and not just stand out, you know. I think for views A and C, you can use something that might be not so drapey, but still not that stiff, you know. You know, your knits, your ITYs, your French terries, you know, rayon spandex. You know, rayon spandex is the king of fabrics here in Brazil. It is basically the only type of fabric I can find easily. And because, you know, going out to the shops is not an option, I'm just relying on what I have in my stash. The sizing is from extra small to 5XL, and that'll go up to a bust of 57.5 and hips of 59.5. There's a full bust option available if your full bust and your high bust measurement is 4 and above. So that is a good option. And the ease on this, because it's a knit pattern, depends on the size. You might have a little bit of negative ease at the bust, half an inch, or you might have up to an inch of positive ease at the bust. And that is totally appropriate with knit styles like this, you know. Now I've let you know that I've chosen view B that has that empire type bodice that is cut asymmetric. And now this one would be the type of bodice you need to be really careful with, because our anatomic characteristics here in this area of our body can differ a lot, and it's got to do with bust height, bust volume, length of your upper body according to your height. You know, petite women usually have to shorten things in this area. Taller women like me usually have to lengthen things in this area. So I didn't just go about and cut this pattern. I knew just by looking at it that it was going to be short on me. It was not going to hit empire or just under the bust. It was going to hit above the bust. So sort of like there. So what I did was pin the back and the front together at the shoulder seams, the paper as such, and did like a paper fitting because it's not tissue. So I just put this over my body and saw where the bodice was going to hit me. And according to that, by eyeballing, I added an amount. I'm showing you a picture here. I wanted to keep this shape like that at the front. So I didn't want to go changing it from the bottom. I wanted to cut above that to keep that the same, so that there's a notch there on the bodice and the skirt that need to match. And so those areas weren't going to change in shape or length or anything. So I just cut a line above there on my bodice, added 2 inches, and did the same thing for the back. Now doing this accomplished 3 things. Lower my bust point, give me the length that I need for the bodice because I'm longer in the upper body, and lengthen my dress. So those 2 inches cover all those things. I needed 2 inches of total length on the dress anyway. I needed my bodice to be longer anyway. I needed to lower the bust. So it's all those things all in one little adjustment, and very simple adjustment. Really, I would suggest if you choose this type of bodice to just check it upon yourself. And if you're not confident with eyeballing stuff like I am sometimes, just make a little muslin, get a scrap of knit. The bodice is tiny. You're not going to use much fabric to pin that there on your shoulder and see if the length is actually going to cover your bust. You don't want that seam to be hitting you like through the bust or like almost under the bust. You know, I really was careful with that, and I got the fit that I want. I really like that bodice and that shape there is everything. There's a center seam there. I really like it. So I was sewing this up at night, very late. I had no conditions to be filming. You know, that's life. And I have shown you practical sewing in like 99% of the videos. Well, this one is not one of those, but it's a very simple pattern, and I'm just going to talk to you about what I've done. So this is my bodice. I've chosen a brown rayon spandex for the bodice. Now this is what I had. I mentioned I can't go out and purchase stuff, and I wanted to combine it with this chiffon that has that print. Maybe it's snake print, I don't know. But there's tones of dark khaki green with brown there, and there were some stripes because this skirt piece is cut on the bias in this area. It gave that sort of look like that. Now rayon spandex, I don't know, I wouldn't suggest it, but you know, I do use it anyway with little tricks. And the trick I've done for this one is cut the 2 front bodices twice. So I've got a double layer here. If you open up, I've got 2 there. Now, why did I want to do that? Because my chiffon piece here, I cut my skirt piece in chiffon, well woven, totally sheer, totally slippery, totally really amazing to work with. I just like doing it. You know, this could have been a rayon to make it easier, but I wanted this combination of colors. So in order to protect the chiffon, you know, chiffon is quite delicate. What I did was enclose that seam. So this is the wrong side of the fabric. You can see it's really clean there and there. So this is the seam I am talking about. It's slanted. I just got my 2 layers of each of these sides because each front is sewn separately. Put one of these right sides together, both layers, and sandwiched my chiffon layer in between. Sewed that, flipped it, and then my chiffon is magically really clean finished inside there. So you do one front and then you do the other front, and then you sew it up in the center. So there's a center seam there on the bodice, and then that one you just have to meet the seams there. That's how it looks on the inside, you know, that has already been sewn, and then you sew this vertical seam there. And that goes all the way down. So the original way to finish this V neckline is sewing this and leaving 3/8 of an inch not sewn on the top. And then that gets folded in And I think that method is appropriate for a better fabric than rayon spandex. I'm telling you, rayon spandex is not the best fabric, but I keep using it because it's comfortable to wear. It's not nice to sew, and depending on the style, it could be really unflattering. But I get around that by putting double layers and stuff and using slips and other layers underneath to create that sort of barrier between my skin and rayon spandex that wants to show all your lumps and bumps, you know. I added my own V neckline. Now, I didn't draft the pattern. I got the pattern from the classic tee. This is the classic tee from Love Notions, and one of the options there is a V neckline. And this is the total length needed for that t-shirt. But I measured this neckline, you know, from the V all the way, calculated 85% of that because it's rayon spandex, and that's sort of like a standard amount I use to make the band a bit smaller. Measured from here, 3/8 of an inch in from where I would start sewing this, and then folded away the length that I didn't need. So when I measured my V neckline, it measured 66 centimeters. Multiply that times 0.85 and you get 56 centimeters. 56 centimeters is the total length of the band, divided by 2 is 28 centimeters, and that is the length I have there. 3/8 in from where you start sewing the V to where I folded away is 28 centimeters. So that was excess and I didn't need that. This is drafted for another pattern, different neckline, you know. So that's all I did. Used this, made it a little bit shorter, and then attached it on, being mega careful to match there. And maybe I'm a millimeter off. You know, perfectionism is not a good thing, but I like how that looks. That's okay. And if you want to see how that's done, you can see this one, because this is a laundry day tea dress. And on that video, I showed very detailed how I do my V-neck lines, and I get really nice results, really precise results. There's some hand basting involved, and I know that's not conventional, but I think it just gives that precision, that little bit extra, so that the V looks really nice. Because I have two fronts here, essentially, I was able to enclose the shoulder seams from the back. I have a single layer on the back, but I have a double layer there and there. That means I can also sandwich the shoulder seams from the back between the two fronts, you know. So those are things that come from doing double layers that are like extra and make this garment so nice inside. Like, I'm gonna turn it inside out so you can see how nice it's finished inside. Okay, so this is the inside. You can see that center seam there. I've pressed it open, it's serged, and you can see the V right there. It's been serged there. And the chiffon is really safe inside those two layers of rayon spandex. It's not gonna fray or rip or anything like that. It's really nice and safe and clean in there. And here on the shoulders, it's all nice and clean as well. So I'm super happy with that. Now the back is just one piece. It's just very simple. Once you have your fronts assembled and your shoulder seams sewn, you can go ahead and just sew the side seams. The side seams are gonna have knit fabric here on the top where the bodice is, but then you're gonna be sewing on woven like I did, like chiffon. So what did I do? I sewed with the machine. I placed my fabric in the machine with the woven layer on top and the knit layer on the bottom. That's how I did it, so that, you know, if you do it the other way around, the presser foot might start stretching out the knit fabric as you sew while the woven doesn't move under there. So that is the risk of sewing with the knit fabric up and the woven down. I wouldn't do that. I do it the other way. So you're looking at the woven while you're sewing and the knit fabric is underneath. That gave me really good results on the side seam. I had no issue whatsoever. This is the skirt front. You can see it's really cool because it's cut on the bias and my fabric had stripes. You get that effect of that centerpiece going that way. I just think it's so cool. And it's just totally transparent. I need to wear a slip underneath, of course. I did different hems. So for the back, I did a twin needle, and for the front, I just did a normal seam. It's just 3/8 of an inch pressed up. And there are some asymmetric bits here, like that. You know? So it's just a really cool type of skirt. If you were doing this completely with knit fabric and it's really drapey fabrics, it even says on the pattern that you might consider leaving the hems raw because they would just flow nicer, and I totally agree. I've done that with a few of the knit garments I have, but I couldn't leave my chiffon raw. That would have been terrible, you know. So my original idea was to use this chiffon. I wanted to use this on the front and have the rest of the body of the dress be black, the black bodice, the black back. And I thought I had more rayon spandex in black, and no, I just had shreds. I had absolutely nothing left in my stash. So I was really bummed because this is the vision I had. I imagined this waterfall falling down and being, you know, this fabric, because I love this fabric. But then I got to looking and I came up with this other woven knit combo, and I still really like this a lot. If you like this pattern, it has so many options to choose what you like. You can get it with my affiliate link if you want to. It's down below, and I make a small commission from that sale. I am totally gonna make this dress again when I get black fabric to combine with that chiffon, because I am obsessed with that. And it wasn't a difficult make at all. It was very simple to put together. One thing I didn't mention, look, I cut out the sleeves. I cut the short sleeves. I was gonna sew them on, and actually whenever I wear my laundry day tea dress that I have here with sleeves, I get hot with them. Like I can wear them in certain days that it's not so hot now walking into autumn, but when it was hotter, I'm just always reaching for the sleeveless. I'm just always like grabbing the sleeveless stuff. So then I ended up not putting them and just adding binding on the sleeveless armhole. Okay, I mentioned I'd made another woven knit combo, and it was actually a UFO that I had. I cut it out maybe in February or March last year, so over a year old, and it's using a Love Notions pattern too, the Tidal top and dress. I made this one last year as a t-shirt. This pattern has these really interesting features. It just has one center front with princess seams, and then the back sort of comes from the front all the way to the back and to the other front, and that creates the princess seam. I'm going to show you the one I made last year. So I made the center panel black. You know, this is really good for mixing up and using your scraps. I did that black front, and then I cut the back on the bias with this rayon knit fabric, and got chevrons at the back, and then that same back comes over to the other front. So it creates a really nice princess seam line on the front. It's super flattering, and you know, this one can be a tank, a maxi, a dress. You know, I made a top, a t-shirt. It's got like a curved hem, high-low, you know, shorter in the front, longer in the back. And I really like this. Then I got to reading the pattern just when I made this, like when I finished making it. It actually says on the pattern instructions, you can choose a drapey woven to make the front panel, like rayon, silk, georgette, crepe, and I was like, oh, okay. I don't know why I didn't see that when I made this one. This is completely rayon spandex. So very freshly finished, this one, I went into my scraps and I found a piece of crepe that I had left over from a dress that I made a little while before. I really liked that it had this green thing across it, and just placed my front pattern on this scrap and it fit, and then I cut the rest of the top out of rayon spandex, and I really like it. So this is just crepe in the middle, totally woven, like no stretch at all, nothing. And if you think it's not going to fit, it is, because the knit sleeves and the back are going to give you ease at the arm side anyway. It's not like you're going to be stiff and you can't move or anything like that. And I was able to place the front there so that I had green features here on the shoulders, and then this one is coming around the height of my waist, this green from the fabric. So this is just fortunate that I was able to place the front how I wanted it to look on this type of print, because it was just a little piece I had left over. So I'm super happy with this. This one has the back here, no center seam. The only reason I did a center seam on this one was to create chevrons, but it wasn't the original pattern. The original pattern is just one back, and that back comes over to the front like that and creates that princess seam. So how did I sew this? I sewed it normally, like you would sew anything, nothing special. I even put on my knit band there on the neck. I think this neckband is a little bit too thick to what I'm used to. I think I like them a little bit narrow, but that's how I made that because I had already cut it out. The band is sewn with a straight stitch. You know, this is woven straight stitch, and I couldn't be bothered to change it when I got to the back that is a knit, so I just did it all in a straight stitch and it works fine. I know people say it's wrong, but I don't mind using a straight stitch with some types of knit patterns. It's okay. You're not going to be like stretching it to make the seams pop. You know, we're ladies, we put on our clothes carefully, you know what I mean? So that's what I did. I really like it, and I'm going to show you how it looks. That was a Tidal top that I made with scraps. Really cool. I'm now looking to see other pieces that I can do this again, maybe in the sleeveless version, you know. So I'm happy I got a UFO done, and I was able to show you two patterns where this is totally possible. You might have these patterns. Give the Tidal top and dress a look. It's not on sale, but go and have a look at it. You might like it too and have fun creating different things with these patterns. I hope you got some inspiration. Go and see what you can mix and match from your wovens and your knits. It makes for a really interesting garment. Very original, not something that you would usually find in shops or see people wearing, but it is totally possible and just opens up your possibilities even further. And with your scraps as well, you can use up those scraps. You think it's not good for anything, it could be good for a front panel or the skirt piece. You know, it's just really good fun, and I really liked making these this week. I will see you again very soon with another sewing video. Stay safe and happy sewing. Bye.